Hey guys, it's Alex Nunez with 12 Points Real Estate, and in today's video we're going to be talking about title insurance. Right? Title insurance is something that every buyer is going to purchase when they purchase a home as part of their closing costs, but not everyone really understands on a deep level what title insurance even is. Right? So we decided to sit down with an expert today to help us kind of dive deeper, figure out what is title insurance, do I really need it, and if so, how much does it cost? So today we're going to be sitting down with Andrew Power of Smith, Thompson, Shaw, Cologne & Power, an expert in this field, and he's going to be able to help us dive deeper and answer all those questions that I know are important to you in trying to figure out, is this right for me? Do I really need to purchase this? And if I do, how is it going to impact me and how is it going to impact my purchase? Andrew, thank you so much for being here with us today. Really appreciate your time. If you don't mind, before we get started in our questions about title insurance, could you just tell our audience a little bit about who you are and your background?
Yes, my name's Andrew Power. I'm a real estate attorney. I've been here at Smith, Thompson, Shaw, Cologne & Power for 17 years now, and we handle real estate transactions, and the attorneys here also have a specialized practice that is related to real estate one way or another. So we can do circuit court actions, contract work. We also have probate and titles when you quiet titles, or we even have a bankruptcy attorney as well, estate planning. Lots of needs that will relate to real estate transactions as well. So we handle all types of court actions, and our primary business is doing real estate closings as well.
Excellent, excellent. Well, it's great to have you here. I know a lot of our viewers, they want to know, as much as they can about buying a house, before they actually get into it. And one of the costs that I know most people pay for when they purchase a home is title insurance. But I feel like a lot of people really may not understand it on a deeper level. So it'd be a good idea for us to, sit down with you. And I guess the first question I would ask you is, just what is title insurance?
Yes, great question. So title insurance is a little different from what everyone perceives insurance to be, because most insurance is casualty based, where if something happens, well, my homeowner insurance will cover it, or a car accident, well, my car insurance will cover it. That's not how title insurance works, because title insurance covers everything that happened before you buy the property. So title insurance is going to be involved with a title search and a commitment that's going to tell the lender, if there's a lender involved, and a buyer, what needs to be done in order to get them a clear title to their property. So it's going to look at all former owners, any former mortgage holders, and then it will even look at whether it needs an easement and access to the property, and make sure that the property is marketable. So if somebody is able to procure title insurance, they will then know that their title is marketable, to where if they can buy it, then they'll be able to sell it. Because if you don't get title insurance, you may not have the guarantees that a seller is giving you a warranty deed, but that maybe their mortgage is not satisfied. Maybe there's someone in the back chain. So title insurance is going to make sure that everything leading up to the closing is going to be free and clear for them to buy the property and borrow against it if they need a mortgage. So it will not protect against future events, but it will protect for everything leading up to the closing itself.
Okay, gotcha. And you mentioned something called a title search.
Yes.
Can you expand on that too, and let us know what is a title search, and I guess how those kind of two things work together?
Yes. So a lot of people say the words MARTA. That's the Marketable Record Title Act, and that's where title searches will go 30 years and to the next root deed, to make sure that it has gone from seller to the next seller to the next seller, and ultimately the one that the buyer is contracting with, to make sure title continue to be conveyed, and that all the legal descriptions are proper, and that the easements are proper, making sure if there's an association for homeowners or a condominium. It would even include making sure the taxes are current, and that there's no other liens on the property as part of that title search. So in addition to the title search, they will then get a commitment, and that will be a commitment that's provided to the bank. And whether the buyer or seller requests it, we can also provide that. And the commitment will line up everything we need to do to make sure we can have title insurance available at the closing.
Okay, gotcha. And I know on a closing statement, folks will see usually there's two places for title insurance, right? I think there's a place where a lender's policy and an owner's policy. Can you tell us a little bit about what the differences are with those two?
Yeah, so it depends on the nature of the purchase. So if it is a cash deal, you will only see the owner's policy, and that will just be the premium for the title insurance for the owner. And if there is a lender that is lending money to the buyer to purchase the property, you will see a lender's policy on there. The good news is that when there's a lender and a buyer that are getting title insurance at the same time, we can do what's called a simultaneous issue of policy, and it's only an additional $25 to provide a policy for both the lender and the buyer.
Oh, okay. And why would you need two? I guess if you've already bought one for your lender, why would you also need to have one?
It's recommended to have both because if you end up paying off your mortgage, well, that lender's title insurance policy will go away because there's no longer a need for it.
Okay.
The lender's policy is there to make sure they will have an enforceable mortgage and an enforceable lien against the property. The owner's policy is just going to protect the owner. So it won't protect the lender the same way it protects the owner.
Gotcha.
Because the lender's policy is going to ensure that they have a valid mortgage. That could include an omitted signer. It could even include a fraudulent signing. So title insurance will cover that for the lender, and likewise it will cover the owner for any fraud in the back chain or any forgeries or any issues that all occurred prior to signing.
Gotcha. And are both, if you are purchasing a home using a mortgage or loan or lender, are you required to have both of those policies?
The lender, if you're doing it through a normal bank, they would require it. And I say normal, I guess any bank that's going to be federally insured or a credit union. So it would be a banking entity where they would require it because they want a guaranteed policy that's going to say, if we're going to lend you all this money, we're going to be the only lien on the property, and we're guaranteed to get our money back out of the property, where somebody else in the back chain is going to come up and make a claim to the property or have a higher interest. Because with mortgages, it's all about priority, where which mortgage was recorded first. So if they loan the money and there was a mortgage that was recorded prior to them, they may not get their money back. The mortgage ahead of them that was recorded at an earlier time would be paid. So the lender's going to require it. I guess you could have a rare circumstance where you may have a private financer or a seller financer who doesn't require it. But even if I didn't work here, I would always require or highly recommend, to the best that I can, title insurance, because it is a one-time fee. It's paid at the closing, and it guarantees that you're not going to have to owe any other money besides the money that you're borrowing that you're going to have to pay back when you sell the property, unless you pay it off.
Gotcha. So the lender's going to require it.
Yes.
So the owner's policy may not be required, but like you said, it's
Highly recommended.
highly recommended, right? And the cost is pretty nominal, pretty minimal. So
Yes. So the cost of title insurance, it is promulgated by Florida statute. So we have to look at that, and we end up title insurers will be given rate books that shows how much the title insurance costs. So it is on a schedule. For example, it's $575 for the first $100,000 of purchase price. So if you pay $100,000 for the house, the premium will be $575. Once it goes beyond $100,000 and up to $1 million, it's going to be at a rate of $500 per. And then as it gets higher and higher, it's less and less per 100,000. So it is scheduled. No matter where you close, it's always going to be the exact same amount. But there is a difference with where you handle your closing. So we are attorneys. We pride ourselves on being able to review the title search, being able to legally explain the documents, provide legal advice as to foreclosure or a certain provision in the mortgage. Certainly we can prepare deeds, corrective deeds, we can prepare easements, we can do all the legal work involved that a title agent cannot, because they cannot offer legal advice, they cannot prepare the legal documents that would supplement a closing if needed, as we can also do all corrective measures to fix a title if there are issues to be fixed in a title search, such as handling a probate or quieting the title or maybe seeking an easement.
Okay. No, that's a great point. That kind of leads me to my next question. Let's say someone does purchase a title insurance policy and they have an issue arise later on down the road. If they close here with you guys, what would they do? Is that something that they file a claim, or who do they contact? Like, what's the process if they do find something wrong with title?
Yes, that's a good question. So attorneys are regulated by the Florida Bar, so we want to make sure we're doing our job well. So if there is a mistake or an issue, we don't want the buyer to file a claim. We want them to come to us and let us fix it at our cost, and that's going to be our responsibility. So maybe a mortgage was misindexed or a deed wasn't signed properly. That is our job to fix it, and we pride ourselves on correcting those mistakes. If somebody goes with a title agent and they're not able to do those things, they may tell them to file a claim, which means they have to go through the underwriter. That could be, ours is, we use First American, and there's other, Fidelity is another underwriter. And with that, that's a national company. They have a claims process. They will make sure a claims attorney gets involved, and they will resolve it, and they'll resolve it on their terms to make sure it's rectified. But we don't want it to get to that point. As attorneys, we'd rather fix it for them. But they would certainly have both options. If they didn't want us to do it, they could always file a claim, but it'd be much easier to go through us, to where there is no formal process other than just letting us know what happened, and we would rectify that. And I guess to add on to that point, I think it's important to go to make sure there's a national underwriter involved. You want to make sure there is a staying brand that is putting the insurance policy behind it. I recall when I first started working around 2005, 2006, of course, we had quite a real estate boom, and then things slowed down. And there were some title companies in Florida that had gone out of business, and likewise, their title insurance company had gone out of business. So if a title claim arises, there may be nowhere to turn for the buyer other than hiring an attorney and having to now pay out of pocket for something that would have otherwise been covered.
That's a great point. So when folks are purchasing a home, they should be concerned as to who's covering their policy, right?
Yes.
And so that national brand is going to be valuable to them.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, I really appreciate your time today, and this has been very informative. I know our viewers are very appreciative of it. And if they wanted to go and purchase a home and then close with your firm, what would they need to do to make that happen?
That's a great question. Mm-hmm. So as soon as we receive the contract, we go ahead and order the title search and make sure we're getting ready for a commitment, and we can have a policy presented. And during that time, we'll work with the lender. If there is a lender, we will work with the realtors and make sure all the information is being given and everything is transparent as to closing figures and lining up an appropriate closing date for the buyer and seller. So we're happy to help, and want to make sure we provide good customer service as to that.
Excellent. So Andrew, thank you so much for your time today. This is a ton of great information. I know our viewers are going to be very happy with being able to digest it. And if we can kind of just summarize for them, kind of quick hit on, what you feel are the most key points that people should take home or take away from our discussion today.
Yeah, so today we talked about title insurance, and that it's not something that would insure you for something that happens in the future, but it's something that happened before you bought the property. So it's making sure that you're buying the property only subject to your mortgage that you're signing at the closing, mm-hmm. and that there's not going to be any surprises that come with it. We also talked about how a lender is going to require title insurance, and how even if you don't have a lender, it's highly recommended to get title insurance because it's going to be only a small fraction of the purchase price, and that will follow you as long as you own the property. We also talked about how law firms and attorneys handling real estate closings can be very valuable in that they can draft the legal documents for the closing, they can go over the note and mortgage, and they can provide legal advice and make sure that you have a marketable title to your property so you can get your title insurance policy.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I know if I'm ever buying a house, I'm buying title insurance. It just makes sense, right? And so thank you for explaining, why that is. And it was very valuable, and we appreciate your time today. So
Absolutely.
Appreciate it, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Folks, thank you so much for joining us today, helping us, or getting some more information on title insurance and the deeper dive. We hope it was valuable to you, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.